camera-wise? Okay. Obviously really proud of the way that we responded from a standpoint of getting a win. I want to credit Coach Mal and his staff. I mean, they've created a lot of changes in their schematics from 19 to now that present a lot of problems. And so we had to go back and look at a lot of tape in a lot of different areas. And for the most part, our plan was pretty good, but our execution was not offensively. And so we've got to correct those things and get those fixed, especially after explosive punt returns like we had to come away, I think, with only 3 points was disappointing, and it changes the complexion of the game. And so we've got to look at some of those things. But proud of the way our defense responded and really proud of the way our special teams played today. Really happy for Charlie. You know, he's been so consistent as our kicker and to come back into the win and hit that career long. I was really proud of him. I put him in a tough spot, but I wanted to tell him and show him how much confidence I have in him, and I'm proud that he stepped up. So with that, how about any questions that I can answer?
Just like last week, we don't have any microphones to pass, so if you have questions, just get my attention. I'll try to moderate from here. Paul?
What were some of the challenges of preparing for a team that didn't play last year, game planning against that?
So 2019, they were a 4-down defense, and you watch that tape and try to pull things out of it. And then this year, they shifted to a 3-down scheme, and completely different with one game of empirical data, which was Eastern Illinois 2 weeks ago. And a lot of the formations that we like to run, EIU doesn't run. So we really had no idea how they were going to deploy their personnel. And so we just got to look at some things that we made mistakes on in the second and third quarter, in particular, that we had an opportunity for big plays, and we just got to take a look at it and get it fixed.
There was a lot of difference in Northwestern in the first quarter versus the rest of the game on the offense. Do you have anything you're looking at particularly that might cause that direction?
Yeah, like I'll just go back to my last answer. You know, I just think that there was a lot of different schematics that they were running that we, you know, I got to watch the tape before I can tell you exactly what it was, but it just looked like we were a guy away from having big plays, and that's the thought process of the defense that they're running, right? And, you know, I think it's going to give a lot of teams problems as they move forward. I think Coach Mal and his staff done a good job defensively.
Between Tyus and Hull, it was a very strong day rushing attack. What kind of sparks that, especially kind of coming from last week?
Yeah, I just think that, you know, when you look at where you're at as a Big Ten team against a FCS team, you got to be able to pound the ball. And, you know, for the most part, again, when we targeted things right and executed, I thought we did a good job. It's the self-inflicted wounds that we had that we got to look at on tape. We got to get it corrected and get better at that.
Coach, in the third quarter, I think it was, at 4th and 23 at the 31, and we decided to go for it. What was the reason behind that?
What do you think I should have done? I don't know either. You know what I mean? That's what I said. I go, what the hell do I do here? I mean, I'm in the middle of no man's land, right? I mean, if I punt it and it goes in the end zone, I get 11 yards. If I kick a field goal 2 yards further than we just kicked the previous series that barely made it, I probably miss it and hurt my kicker's confidence. If I go for it and I get PI, I get a first down. If I go for it and throw it where we wanted the ball thrown, I get a touchdown. We lost on all those.
Text me next time.
That will never happen. I absolutely promise you, but nice shoes. I appreciate you. But, I mean, that's one of those you're in no man's land. What do you do, right? I mean, let's not get in that situation. I mean, that's what I told the offense. I said, you guys just put me in a no-win situation, so I'll go for it. What the hell? Let's go for it. Let's see if we can make a play. Because, again, the net negative yardage was going to be 11 yards, so I felt like being aggressive there. You're in a max aggressive zone, up 16 anyway. It's just, you know, philosophically.
Yeah. I was wondering first if you have any update on Bryce Kurtz, and then also had some explosive plays in the punt return game for both Brandon Joseph and Ray Nairo. I was wondering kind of what you think the future of that is with Kurtz and both of their excellent play today.
Well, you know, Bryce I was just talking to him downstairs. He said he was feeling better post game, so that's encouraging. Yeah, I thought those guys did a really good job. I mean, we've got a couple other guys that aren't practicing or playing right now that are punt returners also. But a great job by Jeff Jenick schematically and our special teams quality control, Zach Opsel, and then a phenomenal job by our guys up front. You know, when nobody touches your flag for 45 yards, it's a pretty good deal. So I thought those guys up front that are, you know, you probably won't call their names because of the yardage, did a terrific job. But nice job by Brandon fielding it and getting to where we wanted to take the return. And same thing, you know, Ray didn't catch it clean, but then trusted the return and got to it.
Last week, the defense in particularly struggled against the run, and today, the defense was fantastic against the run. Yeah. And so was there anything that went into
Yeah, I mean, I just think from a communication standpoint, execution, and a little bit better tackling, I thought that was a product, or a byproduct was what we did today, but we still have a long way to go. I mean, we got a lot of coaching to do. This is a young squad that just needs to continue to grow up, right? Each experience get smarter and wiser and more experienced. And so we just got to accelerate some of that, especially with the big road test coming up down at Duke next week.
Beat a FCS team this week after a disappointing opening. What did you learn about your team today?
Well, I thought they responded this week in practice. We still weren't where I want us to be in practice yet, Louis. It's, again, a byproduct, I think, of our youth. We got to put together a complete week now this week, and we got to take it with us down to Durham. What have I learned about my team? I've learned that, we have really good older leadership, and we have, kind of a younger group, and our middle-aged guys have got to come along. They've got to keep coming along, and they've got to make more strides, and that's on us as coaches. We've got to put them in those positions. I have great confidence in them. I do. I think we got a really solid young squad. We've just got to do a better job helping them as a staff. And so what does that mean? It's reps in practice. It's what we're showing them. It's what we're doing schematically. It's the fundamental technique that we're demanding, our eyes, our all those little things that, come down to being a consistent player.
Turnovers were a massive part of the defense's production last year. Are you at all concerned with kind of the lack of turnover production in the first couple of weeks, or is that something you can consider yourself?
Yeah, they usually come in bunches, turnovers, that is. And so I think we had our hand on the ball that we should have probably intercepted, at least one. We punched another ball out that they recovered. That's number 2. And then a great job by a defensive player on that punt play, scooping it up in Xander. So, there's an opportunity for 3. That's kind of our goal each game, is to have 3 turnovers, and not to be at that point right now is something that we've definitely got to improve on.
Last one for Coach Paul.
What do you think was the biggest strides that you saw in your defense from week 1 to this week?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to speak for the guys, but I would assume after, watching us, we communicated better. I think that was a big part of last week, that, maybe there were some things that maybe we just weren't as decisive that we need to be. Usually when I hear your voice, I know it, right? And when some guys were on this page and other guys were on another page, it's on us as coaches to clean it up, shore it up, and simplify it. And I thought, Jim O'Neill and the defensive staff did a good job of that, but the credit goes to our guys. I mean, they were the ones that executed cleaner. They were the ones that were flying around, looked like they had a little bit more fun. But we're far from where we need to be, and that's probably what's most exciting to me as this group's coach, is we can be so much better. We've just got to commit to that, and I know the guys will. All right, thanks. Before I jump out, again, obviously the tragic anniversary of 9/11, and I shared some thoughts with the guys after the game, but I just want to say thank you to all of our heroes and our thoughts and prayers to all those families that have been affected over the last 20 years of the tragic events, and then obviously the aftermath to that. And, I get the privilege to be a coach. Our guys get the privilege to play. We get the privilege to be Americans and be part of this great country. And it's been a tough 20 years. Obviously, what's going on right now is not positive either, but at the same time, we want to lift those heroes up in our thoughts and prayers. So thanks for covering us. Appreciate you being here. Thanks a lot. Go Cats.
We're still looking to hunt down one of our student athletes, so it's there. We will not have any statements or any questions for punt return specialist Brandon Joseph. Starting back. Brandon, have you done any punt returning in the past in high school or anything?
You say that one more time?
Have you done any punt returning in high school or in the past, or is today kind of the first time you've done that?
Yeah, I did it back in high school. I had a few punt returns my senior year, but since then I haven't. But since practice, since this fall camp, we realized it's going to be a new role, losing Riley last year, so someone's going to have to step up, and I was ready to be that too, and I was ready to get my opportunity when Bryce Kurtz went down.
You said last week your goal was to improve communication. What do you think sparked that and getting it going today?
It's something Coach O'Neill preaches. Communication is one of the main things, us being on the same page, whether we're right or wrong, everyone on the same page will be all right. So a huge emphasis on that this week in practice, and then we were able to go out and do it in the game. Communication was much better this week than it was week 1. So it was an emphasis in practice, and we were able to execute in the game.
Once you start looking over film, what do you anticipate your focus will be early this week preparing for next weekend?
For Duke, It's going to be stop the run again. We saw what Michigan State did to us last week, and teams are going to see that on film and want to attack it. So keeping that emphasis on stopping the run, we're Big Ten football, and we realize how big that is. And then on the back end, defending the deep shots. Once we stop those two things, we'll be all right. So keeping that emphasis on the run and then no deep balls. That's our defensive goals.
Coach said the key to the improvement in stopping the run this week was communication. Would you say that is true?
I 100% agree, because I heard Coach Fitz, if we're not on the same page, one person messes up, one person isn't in the right spot, that's when runs break. And for us to all be on the same page this week, it all came together, and the defense looked how we were supposed to.
Do you think that's just due to playing together more and more practice, or?
Yeah, 100%. And then just being loud and being making sure everyone's talking out there. You can't just know the call and be in your own zone. I got to make sure my corner hears. I got to make sure my linebackers hear it. So we all got to be talking to each other out there and on the same page.
Obviously, a great punt return game. Is that something that you're going to be advocating more for with Coach Fitzgerald, or are you kind of thinking that this is going to be a one-time game?
It's whatever the coaches tell me, man. I'm going to be back there catching them in practice, and then whenever they call my name, I'm going to be ready to go out there. So whether they think Ray had a few good returns, he was making people miss too, I wouldn't be surprised if they decide to put him back there. So whoever they decide to put back there, I'll be ready.
What do you think of the comparison of tackling week 1 to today?
It was much better. It was something that we had an emphasis on in practice. And for us to be able to come back out this week and, like I said, have that emphasis on stopping the run, which means we have to tackle better. I'm not sure how many rushing yards they had, but tackling was much better for me, for the rest of the team, continuing to run our feet through contact. Coach Fitz came to us early and was like, we're reaching for them. We're putting our arms out there. Like, we got to make sure that we keep doing the keys, the technique that we're coached to do to be great tacklers.
They had 31 yards.
31? Oh, that's pretty good. A little bit better than last week.
Any other questions for Brandon? All right.
Thank y'all.
Say at the end, he'll go Monday. That's fine.
Okay, well, for a time ago. Dominic was the focus on the fundamentals that you kind of talked about during the press conference on Monday to kind of improving the defensive performance against the run overall.
Yeah, that's kind of all we talked about in practice all week. Just getting knocked back as a defensive lineman, using your hands, running your feet, transitioning, and just shedding off blocks and making the tackle. So, yeah, we heavily emphasized that this week in practice.
And was it due for the defense's confidence to be able to almost pitch that shutout and kind of hold that run game in check?
Yeah, it's definitely good, but I feel like we still got stuff to work on. Same thing, back to those fundamentals and tackling. Just got to do better in those simple parts of the game.
Who have you seen step up on defense from a communication standpoint to help get everyone on the same page?
I would say us as a collective, just emphasizing the communication in practice, making sure everybody knows what's going on, not just yourself.
Anything else for the timeline? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we're gonna go right into questions for Evan Hull.
Preparing for this week, what did you see as a vulnerability that could be exploited to get the rushing attack going?
Could you say that one more time?
Your game planning this week, what did you see that you're like, okay, this is how we can definitely establish the run this week?
Absolutely. Well, one big thing is we noticed they played a 3-down front, and so right off the bat, we thought inside zone and outside zone were going to be our bread and butter plays coming into the game, and it ended up happening that way. But, you know, as you get into the game, it's always going to be something different, and we made our adjustments as we kind of went along.
How much of a challenge was it to have to look at film from 2019 since they didn't play last year?
It was a challenge, honestly. We were looking through the archives trying to find things that would help us just gain an edge. So we put a lot of our stock into the last game that they played against Eastern Illinois to kind of get an idea of how they're going to play us.
First 2 drives, I think he had 172 yards, 2 touchdowns, and then after that, the offense struggled. Was it more to do with Indiana State? Was it your execution? Like, what changed?
I would say Indiana State definitely kind of started to buckle down a little bit. They pressured a lot, and I think just getting back to what we do fundamentally is where we needed to be better as far as like the details and just knowing our assignment. And we just kind of lost momentum for a bit there, but we got it back and we're able to finish strong.
Thank you.
How important is it for the running back core and yourself to kind of build up confidence in these 3 non-conference games as you guys prepare for Big Ten play come October?
It's everything. Just because, as far as the run game goes, we're going to be running basically the same things, pretty much every week. And so it comes down to the fundamentals and just knowing your keys and knowing your reads. And so building momentum and building that kind of drive going into each and every week is really important.
On that, how would you say your confidence level has kind of changed from camp to week 1 now coming out of this game?
Well, I know what 20 carries feels like now, so definitely more confident. Just knowing my assignment and knowing just what to do out there, you know what I mean? So definitely a big jump from last year, and being able to be a catalyst for this offense for the first time.
Anything else for Evan?
You mentioned kind of like you just said about the 20 carries. Last week you're kind of more part of the committee. This week it was pretty clear that you were the feature back. What was the difference that created that? I know Fitz mentioned a bit of an injury issue last week. Is that the expectation going forward, and what was it like to get that increased workload?
I believe so. I mean, it's up to the coaches, honestly. But I'm just keep doing my thing out there and make the most of every opportunity that I get.
Anything else?
How did it kind of motivate your offense, seeing the defense almost beat your shit out throughout the whole game?
It's very motivating for the offense, especially when they give us so many short fields. So when we come into the huddle and we got that momentum going already, it's so important to capitalize on it. And so sometimes we didn't really get it, but that'll be one thing that we definitely try to buckle down on coming into next week and preparing for the next game.
Awesome. Thanks, Evan. Little confusion on our part, so Hunter Johnson.